What's up, guys? My name is Dan Kathman. Thank you so much for watching or listening or whatever you're doing. I very much appreciate it. And welcome to the show. I like the microphone in the shop because I get better sound and I can just easily, rip this for a podcast eventually. And if there's a podcast right now, well, congratulations. I did it. You're listening to a podcast. This is my way of being very overachieving, lazy person. That is, that's it. I want to be an overachieving. I mean, that's kind of it. Like people might assume that I'm an overachiever, but I do it the most efficient way possible. So I'm sitting here thinking, all right, I'm going to make a video and I want to do it on a daily basis. And I want a podcast and I want good sound. So I'm just going to combine the two and put the mic in the shot because I want it closer to my face so I can actually get good sound. And screw it, I'm just going to look at the camera the whole time. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. So this is what I like. I mean, I met a lot of writers and stuff like that who say that they, I'm really a great writer, except that, and I've heard this a number of times. Like, I'm a really great writer, but I'm terrible at writing dialogue. And I'm like, so you're not a good writer? And I get it. Like, they're talking about they're good at descriptive writing, and you read books and stuff like that. There's a lot of just kind of telling you what's going on instead of showing you what's going on by dialogue and people and characters actually going through the action. I get it. But that's just a little note that I can give some help on, and it's really just listening to people and people watching and really having empathy for people in general, because then you can really understand someone and their actions, and you can understand why they do something. But also the main thing is how they actually talk. You really got to pay attention to how people talk. Like I wrote, like in my book, even there's in the quotes, which are in the dialogue, which are quoted because that's the characters talking. Normal grammar doesn't matter at all. Okay. I mean, it matters, but it matters, but it doesn't, because it's the way that they talk. So in my dialogue, I'm not going to write something that is like, let's give an example. The way you see the way I'm talking right now, that's how people talk. So commas, there might not be a normal sentence because the person is taking pauses. And when I say I want to do something, I'm not saying I want to do something. That is not how I speak. I say I wanna do something. That is my dialect. That is the way that I speak. And that is the, region that I'm in. So, in the world. So that is part of how you actually type it up. That's how you write dialogue. You write dialogue like the people talk. And if you don't know how people talk, then you got to listen. You got to listen to how different types of people talk. My number one advice for writing is to write what you know. This bothers me on many levels, to see movies and TV shows and books and different things that you can tell, especially if you're the person they're writing about, the demographic, the whatever that they're writing about, and it's not accurate. And that sucks. That's you shouldn't bring that in. If you don't know it firsthand and you're not willing to really do the research, okay, it's okay if you don't know it. Here's a difference. Don't do research by watching other movies, because that's just other people making bad mistakes. Go to the people that are actually like that, and then talk to them or hear them in real life. Don't base it on other movies, because that's just, a ripple effect of wrongdoing. Here's a perfect example. I know it seems stupid, but here's one that annoys the crap out of me. So like a college movie. Okay. You see a lot of college movies and college, whatever. There's always a party and there's a fraternity and there's like a frat party. And, people around the fraternity, I was in a fraternity, so I know the world of that. And the people around, who aren't in the fraternity call it a frat. The people in the fraternity, the brothers of the fraternity, never call their fraternity a frat. It's a big no-no in the world of fraternity. They don't do it. I've never met anybody, because it was such a big thing for my fraternity and the other fraternities on campus that was never, it was just like kind of ingrained that we were like, you don't call your fraternity a frat, because it's demeaning. You call it a fraternity because we're a band of brothers, not some frat. And that was pretty much universal. So that's just a little thing. And then, so when you have somebody, a writer, a screenwriter or whatever, which happens on the biggest level, guys, I'm not talking about, I'm hating on the biggest of the biggest level that they're making mistakes. So it's okay that you're making them too. But the biggest, go into the movies and see it. I see it all the time. And I'm like, this is so dumb, because whoever wrote that obviously wasn't in a fraternity. They didn't go to college and they weren't in a fraternity. They were outsiders. And they're trying to portray and they're trying to write about this thing that they actually don't know. They just know it from the outsider's perspective. And it's okay if they're all outsiders. But when you bring in those characters that are inside that demographic, it's about authenticity. And we don't care, but you can't break it. We're already involved in the story, right? So we all know that TV shows and movies are made up. It's an act. But when you write inaccurately of the characters and people in your made up story, it takes us out of the story, because it's like, that's not how they talk, so write about what you know firsthand. That's my biggest advice. And that's my advice to anybody. I'm talking about the top of the filmmakers and writers. They need to take this advice too, because that's the problem. Here's another one. Here's a fun fact. You know what girls don't care about that guys think that they care about because of movies and TV shows? And let me give you a hint. It's because of the writers, the screenwriters who feel that way. You know who the screenwriters were of these movies? Average. I mean, we'll be honest. It's guys. Older guys who are kind of, are kind of socially awkward. So that's why you see all these movies like that, because they're trying to write about a fantasy that they've never experienced. So of course it's wrong, because they don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? So because they're not writing about what they know, what they've experienced. Taking a step further, and they're not doing real research. Here's something that girls don't care about that I found that guys care about a lot. Girls don't care about if a guy has a lot of hair. I have a lot of hair. But girls don't care about bald guys or receding hairlines. It's a big deal for guys. It's a very big deal for guys, right? The biggest. And why you see it brought up all the time is because guys write screenplays and they care about it, and they don't. And so they make their girl characters say it. And so then there's this facade of the girls care about it. But in real life, they don't. If you don't believe me, look at the People's Choice Awards for Sexiest Man Alive. Who was recently? The Rock. The dude's bald as a cube. In the 90s, Bruce Willis, he's bald now. Back then, he had a receding hairline that went like this. It went to the middle of his head. When he was in the first Die Hard. Sexiest Man Alive. Because they care about the face. They care about the confidence. They care about the look. I'm telling you, I'm being in just that. And that is also what it's doing. And unfortunately, you are so powerful. That's what I'm saying. You see how this is affecting you? This was brought on by writers. They were writers who wrote, and dudes who were fat and balding and sad and wrote about their own insecurities and put that onto the women of the characters. And it's not how they actually feel, because they don't know it and they didn't take the time to actually ask them. They did not actually ask and know what they're talking about. So even that. So yes, it may play. Obviously, it has for tons of years, but I mean, it's not accurate. And that's why they say the whole thing's made up and all that stuff, because it's not real life. And when you see these, there are certain movies that are very good and they're very real life. Great example for a comedy. First one that really struck a chord was Superbad. If you guys remember this, and it was one of the first. I mean, there was obviously Animal House and other ones that were, rated R comedies, but it was very accurate because Seth was that character. That was his life. He didn't try to be the football star. He didn't try to be, something that he wasn't. He wrote that guy and that friend, and it was from his actual life. And so the comedy hit harder. The relationships hit harder. They were real. This was like very, very, very good writing, and it became a very, very good, actual, fantastic comedy. And at the time in 2007, everyone was talking about it. It was such a big deal because it was so on point and so funny, and it just broke a lot of barriers because they were talking about what they knew. That was them. And so that's the kind of mentality that you need to do as a writer. You need to talk about what you know. And I mean everything. Everything that you talk about, you better know. So if you bring girls into, I'm talking to guys because a lot of them are guys. Guys, you bring girls into your stories as characters, and you know nothing about girls. You know nothing about them at all. I wouldn't bring them in unless you want to do the research, the actual research, not watching movies and TV shows, but actual research into how they, interact and how they talk and what they think and what all the stuff and the particular type of girl that you're bringing in. Then you can actually write them accurately instead of making something, because what happens is, again, we're okay with being in the fictional story. Everything is fake. We're fine with that. But when you bring something in and you try to, it's like telling a joke that doesn't hit. That's what it is. A joke that doesn't hit means no one agrees with you. It's not funny. So, that's the same mentality that you have whenever you're writing and you bring in a character and you know nothing about them or this type of person that you're trying to bring. All you know is from, facades or whatever. You know nothing about women at all. And you never dated a girl and then you're writing a love story. That's going to bomb and that's going to not do well. Or you're just going to go on the cliches of what you've seen in movies and TV shows. So don't do it. Don't do it. Write what you know, write what you have experience in. And if you want to write something else, then do the research, even if it's fake. Like I said, it's okay. People think research. They think, well, it's not a nonfiction, it's a fiction. Well, you got to know the type of person that you are writing about. If you've never been in a fraternity and you want to write about a fraternity, then you better go and experience a real life fraternity. You better go and talk to somebody, see if you can follow them around in real life and see what it's actually like. Because I guarantee almost everybody messes it up. I mean, yes, it's the parties, it's it's all that stuff, but the mentality is different. And when you mess up a character's mentality of who they're trying to be, then you mess up the whole story because you take us out of it. You're like, well, that's not real. That's not how we talk. That's how people, and it depends. And if that's who your demographic is, you're going to lose them. So especially like girl is very prominent in women. They, don't like certain movies because guys will write them and guys will direct them and they don't know what they're talking about. That's why a lot of girls don't like a lot of different movies because, the characters that they put in, they have no empathy for women at all. They don't understand them. They can't put themselves in their shoes. And there's a lot of stigma to that. I never understand women. They're just people. They're people. It's just, they're a person. So take the time to understand them. I can do it. I have done it. I understand because they're people. It's not like they're women. It is very frustrating that people think that. Equality, people, equality. Understand that they're just people and you can just get to know them just like you would if I told you to go understand a fraternity person. Go understand them if you don't know them. Go try to, meet some people in real life, talk to them, do some research online, figure it out, like understand how they are. And if you don't want to do that, then talk about what you know. Talk about what you really know and have experience in. And your writing, your writing is going to be so much better. It's going to be so much easier. It's going to flow so much better because you're not going to have to think and imagine you're going to know this person. So then it becomes now, what's the story? What's the highs and lows? What's the wrench? What's going on? And then these characters, if you know the characters and you know what they would, then you know what they would do. You kind of know what they would say, how they would say it, how they would react. You understand them better. You understand this world better. And then you can put these characters in extraordinary situations. And then it's fantastic because then the story and the heart is there because that is your heart. It's not going to be the facade of what your story is, which is great. And that's important. And it needs to be something, but the heart that is going to be the characters that you bring into them. And if you don't know them, if you don't know these people in real life that you're trying to write about, how they actually are, then it's one thing to, of course, well, they're made up, but they're made up from reality. So that's, you just don't want to go to the cliches because a lot of them, and I tell you, a lot of them are wrong because they just did what a lot of people do. And they just, went off of what they saw and what they think from an outsider. Okay. So that's why, because, you understand this, right? Because every movie is the same. The jock is the same. The cheerleader is the same. And the blah, blah, blah is the same. And the drama kid is the same. And the nerd is the same because the person writing these characters wasn't any of them. That is why, because the person who was writing it wasn't any one of these people and they know nothing about them. So the only option they have is to go on the cliches. And that's why they stick around. And that's when they're stupid because the only thing you have is an outsider's perspective of these people, which is great. But I don't know. To me, you got to really know them to be a really good writer, to be a really good story. You can't base it on an outsider's perspective of these people because that's not how you're writing, unless that's how you're writing them. Let's be clear. Unless that's how you're writing them. If you're writing from their perspective and in their head, don't do it. Not unless you know them. Not unless you know who that character is, because only when you know who they are can you make stuff up. You know what I mean? Only when you know who their whatevers are, and the reality of the real world, then you can make stuff up from there. Making stuff up is not going to work. So you got to kind of know. But again, if you're only talking about them where you talk about writing in the godly presence, or I forget kind of what the terminology is. But when you're writing and you're describing them and you're never in their perspective, you're never in their head within the story, then that's okay. Because then it's all about perception. It's all about what you've seen and you have probably seen it. But if you want to get in their head and you want to have them actually say words and you want them to, have some sort of, perspective on them, then just write what you know. Best advice, write what you know. And that's what that means. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you go out there and write. I hope you create. I love that. And I'm going to keep making these the best I can. And I hope that you enjoy them. Hope that you get some value. And some of these will be funny. Probably. I don't know. This is new. So, okay. Who knows what you're going to get each day? Just whatever comes to me. I don't know. Subscribe to my channel. Whatever you're on, give me some love. I'm just doing this because, I actually don't know why. I'm just doing it because I've always wanted to. I've wanted to do it, and I'm taking my own advice, and I'm just really doing it. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day. Go out there and create. God bless. Please just do what you want to do. Thank you, and have a great day.
You do it, but you don't do it like this. You don't do it like this. But you don't do it like this. You don't do it like this.
It was good for me. Was it good for you? Yes? All right.